I want to welcome everybody to At the Post Live, down at the Party Glass. We are in week 2 of the Saratoga meet, as well as week 2 of At the Post Live. I want to thank everybody for coming down. Thank everybody who's listening at home. I want to thank my guests for coming. I got a lot of people to thank. Most particularly, the guy next to me has a lot of people to thank. I have a question. When are you going to race?
Right. It's going unbelievable right now.
Trainer Kiaran McLaughlin was kind enough to come down and join us, and we're very happy to have Kiaran here. So, when you start out the meet, you had a bad day today, you were 1 for 2.
Yes,
Down.
hurt our percentage.
75, it went from 75% to 70%.
Right.
When you start a meet out like this, you start waiting for the other shoe to drop?
It's just incredible because when you enter, you hope the race goes, you hope it stays on the turf, you hope you have a good trip, and everything has just gone perfect so far.
Your horses have run very well. Actually, Serling Italia, who you brought back, she didn't have a perfect trip. She bobbled at the start, and she was just too good for those horses.
Right, she was, and we could have run in the grade 1 the next day, but being off that long since the Breeders' Cup, we wanted to start in a little easier spot, so it worked out great.
It feels like the second spot for her might not be so easy. You're talking about the Boston spot?
Correct.
Now, the Boston spot is apparently, there's talk it's going to feature the return of Lady Eli. And you guys met the Belmont Oaks last year, and while you finished 4th, she ran very well since Serling Italia in that race last year.
Yeah, she was very, very wide. Both of them were wide, but Lady Eli is a special filly, and I hope she makes it back. And I don't look forward to running against her, but she's great for the industry and great for our game, so I hope she makes it back.
Could be a very exciting Travers Day, obviously, a lot going on, but also Miss Temple City for Graham. I imagine she could be running there. That could be one heck of a race. Really, they were maybe the top 3-year-old fillies in the turf last year, and a chance to really show down in Saratoga would be pretty exciting.
Yes, it would be on a big day of racing.
When you come to Saratoga, for me, I can't speak for you, but my biggest fear, and it came certainly to light last year, is just embarrassing myself. Do you have to worry you're going to come here and it's just going to be really tough? But obviously, that's already behind you.
Yes, every year. I was kidding some of the Zillow people. We got lucky and won for them today, but that race was on for Sunday, and we called a duck buster. I think that we're going to win that race so we don't go home with the duck or don't have the duck for the meet. And the race didn't go, and finally it went today and we won. But it was far from a duck buster because we were already off on and rolling.
Yeah, when it's bad enough when we don't win, and we suffer, I think, all the losses, but in Saratoga, it's great when you're doing well, but it can be tough if it's not going that well.
Yes, it's a tough place up here. It's great racing, and you just want to get off to a decent start and win a race or two, but we've been very fortunate so far.
So, Mohaymen, obviously that's the next big horse you're running, and he's running the Jim Dandy this weekend, as well as hopefully the Travers. How's he doing, first of all?
Great. We finished 4th in the Kentucky Derby. He ran very well. Finished 4th. He ran his lifetime best race on figures that we looked at. And we took him home. Shadwell took him home to go over him and look him over. And he had a clean bill of health. And he loved dropping his head and eating some grass for 3 weeks. And then came back to Green Tree and has been trained great and worked it every time he was supposed to work. He's a very sound horse. We would love him to put on a little weight, but he never carries a lot of weight. But he's a really nice horse, and at least he was only 6th in the race Saturday, and he's doing great.
Now, was it pretty much always a plan to rest him up for Saratoga if he didn't win the Derby?
Well, it's kind of like, it seems like it's hard to run back in 2 weeks for the Preakness if you don't win the Derby, because it's hard to run back in 2 weeks anyway. And then you look at the Belmont and you say, do you really want a mile and a half? So it seems like we've done that a few times with Alpha and now, even Frosted. And it's worked out great. And the Travers is such an important race, so we hope we're there with a big chance.
Now, you and I talked about it quite a bit, actually, in Florida. I was down at Gulfstream for a couple of months, and I was, as you know, sort of critical because he's a terrific horse, but he was a horse that was terrific from day one on the racetrack, and he never improved that much. I mean, is that something that you're concerned, or do you feel that he's improved since then?
Yeah, it's hard to say. We'll know Saturday. He's always done everything right as far as training goes. He's a May 2nd foal. We keep waiting for him to fill out and maybe mature a little bit more. But we feel like we're the horse to beat Saturday, and I hope it all works out and doesn't rain 15 minutes before post like it has his last two races.
Well, Gulfstream, actually, there was actually no rain in the radar whatsoever. It was pouring out that day.
Exactly.
Gulfstream. It was pretty crazy. And that sort of, I think Florida and Saratoga have that in common. It's supposedly not raining, and it actually is raining.
And Kentucky Derby did no rain in the forecast. A black cloud came over and poured down rain an hour before the race.
So maybe it's you.
I know, or the horse. I hope not.
Well, no, don't worry, because we actually made a deal. I don't know if anybody's noticed it. It never rains in Saratoga anymore.
No, that's great.
We haven't lost a Saturday. In fact, the last Saturday, what's the last Saturday that we lost where we had race rain on the turf that we had rained out basically in Saratoga? You should remember it well.
Oh, yeah.
It's Alpha the Woodwood.
Okay, there you go.
Right? So it's actually good for you. So
Yeah.
what are you complaining about? Things are going
I'm
well.
not complaining.
Frost's performance in the Met Mile, and I imagine people here are familiar with it, was one of the most impressive performances I think any of us have seen in our lifetimes.
Yes, me too. I'm a racing fan, and I'm proud to say that I was a trainer of the horse, but it was a wow moment, unbelievable. I just noticed today, in fact, that Ragusan Sheets adjusted his number from a -quarter to a -2.25. So it's an unbelievable number. It's the fastest number I've ever had as a trainer in a Ragusan Sheets. And hopefully we've given him enough time. He couldn't be doing better. He's flying, doing great. 2 turns is a little bit of a concern because he did run 1 turn. He was his first time 1 turn. It was unbelievable. But he is training great, and I feel like he's a horse to beat for sure in the Whitney next week.
Well, he could run 5 lengths worse and still win it quite easily. I mean, it's not as though he's some sort of bum going 2 turns, and he just happened to run well around 1 turn. He obviously ran much better, but his races as a 3-year-old were pretty good.
Exactly. I mean, I think that Joel gets along with him great. He keeps him on the bridle. And I think back on Lasix after running twice in Dubai without it, I don't think it matters that much the distance. He was second for a mile and a half to American Pharoah. He won the Pennsylvania Derby a mile and 8, the Wood Memorial a mile and 8, and now the Met at a mile. So we like our chances going forward.
Well, I mean, he's running, I would imagine, against a lot of horses that he met in the Met. Obviously, FNX is talking about coming, but Upstart will be in there, and he handled it pretty well. It's hard not to be confident. I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to win. It's hard not to be confident.
Yes, he's doing great.
So, I wanted to talk to you about last year's Travels, because obviously there was a lot of controversy, because Joel Rosario, who was supposed to ride him, got hurt not long before the race, and Jose Lozcano rode him. And Jose gave him a very aggressive ride, and maybe it had a lot more to do with the downfall of American Pharoah. But it was the closest he ever finished to American Pharoah.
Yes, I mean, Jose rode him well. Jose didn't have a lot of time to study his races either. And we took Jose Lozcano because he rode Wedding Toast and a few others for us. And he did what he thought he had to do to win. But I believe that if Joel Rosario would have been on, it would have been a different outcome. We probably would have been second, and American Pharoah would have won. But it is what it is, and we're just happy to have Joel back. It certainly wasn't our instructions to go after American Pharoah to get him beat at all, but it worked out that way. And I thought that Frosted was game and defeat.
I thought it was terrific that day. I mean, obviously, if you know you can't win, it's nice to know to be second. But it's not so bad to take your best shot sometimes.
Exactly, and that's what Jose did.
Yeah, I mean, he had tried to beat him in the Belmont. It was a tough course to run down. And I don't know about you. I thought American Pharoah ran his race that day. I thought he ran as well as any other race he ever ran.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
And so with Frosted, obviously, the bigger races are staying for the 2-turn races. The other thing is, even if you decide a mile was better, the Scar Mile is the only race left. Well, I guess the Kelso, but you can't run the Breeders' Cup Mile to run 2 turns, so it's not to your benefit anyway.
Correct. That's the tough part is we have to go to Santa Anita, it's 2 turns. So hopefully we are going to stay in the Classic and run, the mile and a quarter. And we could run in the Woodward. The Jockey Gold Cup at Belmont, which is almost 1 turn, mile and a quarter. October 3rd is a prep for the Breeders' Cup. But we'll just play it one day at a time and hope he runs big in the Whitney.
Have you had much success? Have you run many horses or had much success in California in the Breeders' Cup?
No, and we haven't. It's kind of been disappointing. We talked about it a lot because we're training here on Cincinnati, and then the weather turns, it gets a little cold here, and we're thinking about going out earlier. We're trying to adjust, but hopefully we have the right horses to go out there with this year. Each year you wonder about it, but California's tough on us going out there. It's so speed, favoring tracks often, so we'll see how it goes.
Do you feel as though the Breeders' Cup needs to get the, I mean, obviously there are other reasons, and some of them have to do with us at NYRA, but we'd like to get it back. Do you feel it's been a little unfair that we haven't had a chance? And I think it's toughest on the horsemen because you guys always have to ship.
Yeah, it's tough, but the one thing that I say, sitting in Santa Anita looking at those mountains and the beautiful weather every day, we are in the entertainment business, and I understand it being out there is just tough on us having to ship out there and run on a different track.
And your daughter works for Breeders' Cup,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So everything they do is actually wonderful.
Yeah, great.
Talk about, you mentioned training on synthetics. You train on a synthetic surface at the Godolphin and Green Tree, where you train, which I assume people are familiar with it. But we'll talk about Green Tree a little bit and what it's like training there and the synthetic surface.
We've had our ups and downs with it, but the last 2 years we've really figured it out and tried to change our maintenance of it. And it's more like a dirt track now. We feel it kind of kicks back. It used to be a little bit jamming them, and horses would just stick and hurt themselves in different areas. But now we have it maintained like a dirt track, and we love what we're getting out of the track. But what we do that's a big advantage is train right-handed. We train left-handed every day. You're always going left-handed, and you end up having left front problems, right hind problems, because you're always going left-handed. And so we could switch and go right-handed there. Tomorrow morning we work Frosted, Karina, and Robillard, all three right-handed. And it's just worked out great. For sure the results are there, so we're very pleased with it. And if the main track gets sloppy or a lot of rain, the synthetic is perfect. It handles the rain very well. So it's been a big advantage to us this last 2 years.
So working right hand as opposed to left hand, or switching back and forth, you think it sort of evens out the stress on a horse?
Yes, and or eliminate some of the problems. And we don't switch back and forth. We kind of stay right-handed. Even Mo Heyman has been working right-handed back there, but we switched him some because we're going to run here, and he hadn't worked that much right-handed, but he does both.
Have you had experience doing that in the past?
No, not really. It's going back to Dubai. We ran right-handed some, but we never trained right-handed except at Green Tree, and we just started doing it a few years ago, right when the 2-year-olds come in, and it's been very successful, so we continue to do it.
Now, you mentioned Karina. Karina could well be the favorite for the test, but the test might be coming up one of the tougher races of the year.
It is. I mean, she's not 3 for 3, she's 2 for 3, but she's run well.
She was the Light Storm?
Yes, in her first start. And she went on Lasix her second start and won, and then came back and won. And she's doing fabulous, doing great, but it is a tough race. A lot of turnbacks from going along with fillies or turning back to the 6, 7, 8. So, and we're stretching out a little bit, but she's doing great, very nice filly.
Yeah, she ran a race, the Jersey Girl, at Belmont weekend. For people who look at the race next week, the times are wrong, you know the times are wrong.
Yeah.
The time says 107 and change, it was 108 and change, but it was still a fabulously fast race, and she buried the field. Is Catherine Sophia planning to run there, or is she going to wait till the cotillion?
I'm not sure. I was having to look for a jockey because I ride so much for Chad.
And Lewis Bay is who he's riding there.
Correct. And so I don't know for sure if she runs, but there's a lot of them running that have been going long.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Lightstorm, in fact, who beat her in sort of a rematch. Lightstorm, who was third in the Mother Goose, but had an outside trip. She feels like she's going to be tough. That's been a terrific race.
It is, for sure.
It feels like this year, I'm not sure, but I feel like it's a deeper, tough, really tough bunch of 3-year-old fillies. The dirt horses, the turf horses are always tough.
Yes, I agree with you. I do agree. It's tough. And like I said, from 5 furlongs to go to 7, and from mile 8 back to 7, it's going to be an interesting race.
You know, nobody wants to run against Songbird, so everybody would rather run 7 furlongs there. She's pretty good, huh?
Yeah, very good. She was awesome the other day.
Yeah, Billy Mossworth took a real shot at her. I like Mossworth. I thought she had a really good chance, and she just flicked her away like a gnat.
It was unbelievable.
So training, do you have now, are all your horses stabled at Green Tree, or you must have other horses on grounds?
Yes, we have barn 7, which was an old Alan Jerkins barn right next to Green Tree. We have 23 stalls there. So we have only horses that are at Green Tree are the Mocktoons, Shadwell, and Godolphin. so no one else is allowed to even train there because of liability. If a deer runs out in front of a Zilla horse, I don't know what might happen.
I'd read about it on Twitter.
Yeah.
That would happen for sure.
Right. So
Other than that, I
be
can't be sure. So the Godolphin and Shadwell situation, they're sort of friendly and all. I mean, there's no. I'm sure they're competitive, but they're happy to train together.
Yeah, Sheikh Mohammed is the ruler of Dubai, and he owns Green Tree, and his older brother is Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum. He owns Shadwell, so we have both horses stable back there, and both trained back there.
You lost my train of thought for a second as far as training back there with their horses. Now, how about 2-year-olds? How many 2-year-olds do you have back there? You can tell us.
Not that many. They cut back this year. Godolphin did, and they're just cutting back a little bit. But I was assigned only 12 2-year-olds for Godolphin, and maybe 12 for Shadwell.
Any reason they cut back?
They're just trying to trim back a little bit because they're so large around the world. But they'll pick it back up the next year or two, hopefully.
And you hopefully going to have some good ones here on Saratoga?
We hope we will, yes.
I mean, you usually do want to give us some winners.
I
You
know.
need winners, right? I'm not giving anybody any winners the last few days, so Kiaran, you got to help us out.
Yeah, as far as the 2-year-olds go, I don't have any 2-year-olds to watch. I mean, our next couple of days, I like a horse called Zenner.
I know you like that.
Yeah, I like Zenner on Sunday. It's a mile turf race. So, but he's doing great. And then obviously Mohamed, we hope has a good chance. And Rediscover has a look to him from 3/8. So we have a few, but the 2-year-olds, Paul Anchor is probably our next 2-year-old winner, New York bred, on August 8th, 1/6 Pro.
All right, well, the one you mentioned before that, the mate, Rediscover.
Yeah.
He's been gelded since his last race,
Correct,
right?
and that's changed and then helped him be right.
And yeah, so I'm looking forward. He looks like the speed. Well, now people may not remember who Rediscover is, but he's a sort of famous horse from Gulfstream. He ran in a race off a layoff at a mile and 7/16 down at Gulfstream, and some of you probably remember this race. He was a huge price. It was like 30-something to 1, and he went to the lead. He was comfortable going to the lead, and an apprentice rider was in the race, and they go around 1.5 times, right, mile and 7/16. And some apprentice rider went to the whip at the top of the stretch and went flying by your horse, and the guy thought the race was half a mile. He didn't realize they were going around again. And he actually probably caused you the win. I think Chad ended up running you down. It's very possible you would have won that race.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of you saw that race, right?
And he cost my brother Neil many, many thousands of dollars. So we'll talk much more about that. But it was a tough beat that day.
Yeah, that's one. If you haven't seen it, Rediscover's running, I think, a Sunday's card. You're going to want to take a look at that replay. Anyway, Kiaran, I can't thank you enough for coming and joining us up here. I hope it brings you some good luck. I remember the first time you came up, you won the Alabama with that the speed horse.
Questing.
Right. That was really the horse that kind of put a rod on the map, right?
Yes, yeah. I would like to thank you for coming, but also I think we need to give a big round of applause for Andy. He puts in a lot of hours, but it's great for being